I've seen it twice. I've seen it twice.
Already?
It's been out for like 2 weeks. I saw it once on Mother's Day and once on like a week ago, Tuesday. Yeah.
I literally haven't seen it yet.
I
Wait.
love Guardians 3.
I like the Avengers franchise.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah.
All right, we should probably start.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, what is up? Oh, dang it, I immediately hit the mic. What is up, Arise Youth? Super pumped that you guys are tuning in with us today. My name is Jeremiah, and today I am joined by Cali Allen. What is up, Cali?
Hello.
You doing good?
Yeah.
Good.
I'm excited.
Awesome. Let's get to know Cali a little bit. That's it. If your skin was a scratch and sniff, what scent would it be?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to say permanent Sharpie marker, like a Sharpie.
Okay.
Because, oh my gosh, I am obsessed with like the Sharpie smell.
Does it like,
like for real.
Why?
I don't know. It just smells good. Like it's kind of like gasoline in the same way that it like it burns your nose.
So it's like a good and a like kind of not so good type. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. So you just graduated, right?
Yes.
First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
So then you're working.
Mm-hmm.
So you work where?
I work at a dance company.
Okay.
So Dancing for Joy, it's in Riverview. It's a Christian dance company. It's super great. I love it there. 20 out of 10.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what's it like? Because I'm assuming that you interact with a lot of people that are not saved, but then the company is still like a Christian organization. So what's that like dynamic like?
It's very interesting because you have, I think like it's great having the company kind of backing you up and being like, this is what we believe and stuff. So it's easy to, talk about God and pray. And like before and after dance classes, we always pray and stuff like that. And people actually don't get very mad if they're not Christian. They kind of just look at me and they're like, oh, that's cool that you believe that, or they're just like, respect.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
Dope. So it's not like something where it like creates a ton of conflict or anything.
No.
With like atheist clients or okay, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So why dance? What's the passion there? Like talk to me a little bit about that.
So dance is something that I started when I was really young. I was like 8 years old. I started dancing hip hop. I thought it was really cool because of actually Camp Rock.
It is really cool.
The movie Camp Rock.
That is so cool.
I saw people spinning on their heads and I was like, I want to do that. Yeah. So my mom put me in a hip hop class. And then I ended up moving here when I was like 10. And so I couldn't find a dance studio because I was like, I just couldn't find one. So then just in 9th grade, I started dancing again because I was like, wanted to pick it up. You want to be cool. You want to go to school and be like, I'm a dancer,
hey guys,
like all this stuff. Exactly.
And you can like do it in front of your homeroom and like, okay, awesome.
People are like, wow, you're so cool. No one ever did that. But but I wanted to start dancing again. So then I started self-teaching myself. And then I got the job about a year ago. So last July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how does this gift of dance play into your relationship with God? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So it is honestly amazing. Like it was one of the reasons why I actually reconnected with God. It was super cool how like I got to realize that my dance isn't just only, to show people how cool I was, which is why I started, but it was like kind of how I could show people the giftings and the talents, like the different levels of gifting and talents that God has given you, which is not only just like serving in church, but it can be other things that you're just gifted in.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you, because I know especially in fine arts season, we talk a lot about like every time the person that does announcements gets up and they talk about fine arts, we talk about how we can glorify God using our gift. So how does that work? Because obviously you have that opportunity like all the time at work. So how do you use your gift to glorify God?
Well, it's as simple as this. It's just teaching kids kind of like that's their worship to God, that's how you worship God, that you don't have to be standing in an altar or you don't have to be standing in a church building to worship God. You can really do it just living your life and serving him, which is a very big point of worship is, using your own life to worship God. So
Yeah.
mhm.
So talk to me a little bit about worship a little bit more. What is, can you give us a definition for the audience?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, let's start there. A definition of worship.
So I would explain worship as basically honor or reverence towards something or God. It's something that you sacrifice for sure. So like worship could be, you're sacrificing your time to be in church worshiping God, or you're sacrificing your time in your room to worship God rather than playing a video game or something. And so you can worship other things like your phone or yourself. So that's something that like worship is that worship is not like it's not for yourself. You're not supposed to be just like asking God like, what can you give me?
Wow. Okay.
So
Yeah. So what, I know you said that dance is sort of one of the ways that you worship.
mhm.
And then like the really obvious one is like the worship leader, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
They're on stage, they're singing and they're playing an instrument. What are like some more like potential examples of how we can worship God?
Yeah. So it's really in anything, any gifts or talents that God has given you, which is why we talk about fine arts all the time. It's like they have so many different things like short sermon and puppets and like all these crazy things. But in reality, God uses everything, everyone, every gift, every talent. And he really like uses that so that you can worship him. And it's kind of like if you use that, that's like your way to worship. So you don't have to be on stage. You don't have to be, like number one. You just do what God has given you and like gifted you with.
Yeah. Because like I think that worship, and I know you said that you're not supposed to be number one, because that's like the whole point of worship, right? Is that you're pointing to God as
Yes.
number one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what then, because then you work, like your work is a form of worship then. So what is it like worshiping in front of like little kids that may not understand exactly what's going on? And like, so this is the type of thing that can offend some people, because
Yeah.
I know that the church came out of an era where like there was like no dancing.
Yeah.
Right? And now we're like, dance is a form of worship. And so like, what is it like worshiping? Like, have you ever come into contact with someone that's like, you're going to hell because you dance? Like,
Yes.
okay.
Actually, I have. Okay. So it tends to be older people. They tend to like walk up to me and they're like, oh my gosh, like they start conversation and then it ends up leading to like, where do you work? And I'm like, I work at a dance studio. And then they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what style? And it gets even worse because you say hip hop. And they're like, what? And you're like, yeah.
But that's of the devil.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're like, rap music, it's so bad. Like they're all cussing and stuff like that. But for me, like, because it's a Christian dance studio, we're supposed to find Christian music. So it's actually like even better, because then you're like, no, like this is a dance that I did like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's a Christian song and they're literally rapping about how God saved them.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
And then I know, so I used to do human videos, so I know that a lot of those songs became sort of anthems for me, like because I would do a human video to them, and of course you listen to it so many times because of rehearsals and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it becomes this sort of anthem for you that like, yes, God saved that person that wrote the song or sang the song, but now like I can see myself in it. Is that like that sort of thing that is it the type of thing that certainly brings you closer to God and stuff?
Oh, for sure. So it's like whenever I'm dancing, I always try and find a song that has like specific lyrics, because a lot of times when you're dancing with kids, you teach them to dance to the lyrics, not necessarily the beat. That's when you get older. And so finding lyrics, so you're like singing those lyrics in class, teaching them, like each dance move step by step. And then they start singing those lyrics because you are playing it every single Friday or whatever, And so those kids are hearing that and it's going in them and stuff like that. So I also find music that's, my anthem and stuff that like I believe, because you do listen to it so much, especially when you're preparing for like a recital or something like that. Like you work 6 months of just prep and just hearing that song over and over again. And so that's something that I actually value a lot, is finding a song that's like top.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's super important, because it has to go with the dance, but it also has to, have that good message and have that. So I know you mentioned this briefly that you sing the song. So I know that you sing. So what made you decide to, because I know we've had this conversation, that you decided to not join the Arise like worship team.
Okay.
What?
So basically, I sang at my old church, like in freshman year. So I was on their worship team. I was an alto. It was super fun, all this stuff. But then like my parents ended up having a whole run-in with that church, and a lot of hurt came out of that church. And so I was like mad at God, and I was like, the worship team was giving me loads of like, you know what, we're not scheduling you, you're not gonna sing this week. And I was just getting frustrated because of what was happening like with my parents. It was also happening with me. And so while I was like on that stage, I stopped like worshiping God, and it was like I was worshiping myself. How good can I sing? You know, like, oh my gosh, look at me raising my hands, like stuff like that. So we ended up leaving that church, and for about a year and a half, I struggled with worship specifically because of what had happened at that church. My mom would still play worship music in the car, and I would get mad at her. I'd be like turn it down. And I'd literally like look at her and I'd be like, I can't listen to this right now. And my mom would be like, no, like she's just like, keep it. And I'd be so furious. And that happened, like that was going on for like a year and a half. I wasn't listening to worship music. And then I went to camp Monday night, Monday night, they started doing all the hype worship, and I was like, okay, I can get behind this because I'm a dancer and I listen to upbeat music. So I was like, yeah, I can get behind this. But then when the slower worship started hitting, I was like, dang, this is kind of awkward. And I was like, I don't want to be here. And that was when actually Pastor Johnny walked over to me and he said some things like, you know, God didn't hurt you, but people did. And that's when it all like clicked in my brain that I had been frustrated at God this whole time when it was just an error made by humans. And so that was affecting my worship. So I didn't even want to worship God. And after that moment, you know, I was like, okay, like maybe I can worship God now. And that's when it really like I started worshiping him. And it was a whole thing of like, you know, I wasn't on a platform anymore. So I had to learn how to, you know, worship by myself and for it not to be weird, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you say as a sort of closing remark to someone that is struggling to worship, or like breaking through that barrier of like why we worship, or how would you respond to that?
Yeah. So I would have to say this actually happened. My dad and I were talking about this recently. But my dad was saying, you know, David, there was a point, it was David. It was in Psalms 103 where David didn't want to worship. However, in the Psalms, he says, oh, rejoice, my soul. And he's basically telling himself, like, even though I don't want to worship, I still need to do it because it gets the focus off of me and it turns it on to God, you know? And that's something that, like, we kind of talked about last night, Wednesday at youth, which was, you know, isolation and isolating yourself. It becomes about yourself. And that is like, you know, when it becomes about yourself, you don't want to, you know, praise someone bigger than you, or you don't want to be like, you are God and I am not, you know? And so it can be, as humans, we can become very selfish. And so it's just pushing through, because there's going to be times where you don't want to worship. You're going through something hard. You're going through a bad day, you know, and you just don't want to worship. However, you just need to, because it's like so crucial. Like it's one of our foundations that we need to have, that we need to like build upon, you know? So push through, worship.
Push through, worship.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yes.
Just get through it. Get over yourself.
Do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We are super pumped that you joined us today. And Cali, you've been awesome. Thank you for coming on. And we'll see you next time, because we are going to keep putting more of these out. Peace. Subscribe.